Hello, everyone. This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to the Powercast. And today we're going to be recapping Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Season 5, Episode 5. And the title of the episode is School of War. And I'm joined today by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you doing, Dana?
I am always doing wonderful. Excited to watch this. I'm excited for y'all to finally catch up and watch this episode. This was fun.
Oh yeah, Dana gets the episodes early, so yeah, like we got it after her, and yeah, like just from her reactions, like I was like, I can't wait to see this. So yeah,
Yeah,
um,
for those, I just sent reactions of like uppercase random letters and symbols.
yeah, exactly. Like, because she tries to be vague, but then at the same time, she gives just enough for us to like use our imagination and think, damn, what happens? So it's always exciting. But Richard will join us in a little bit. He just has to change location because he has some work going on at the house. So yeah, he'll be with us soon. But for now, we're gonna get right into our takeaways for this episode because this was a real significant episode, and I'm sure the tides are going to turn after this. We are going to have a 1 week break after this, so there's no episode next week, but I can't wait to see those remaining 3 episodes because, yeah, this episode was big. So, Dana, I'm going to pass it over to you now and let us know your takeaways for episode 5.
I caught what you just passed me. Yeah, this was fun. I like how we had, the last episode, it kind of left off with this revelation of like, everybody's in shock, but Kanan's like, okay. And then now it's just like, everybody is just, it's so high in intensity in terms of what we are taught, not taught, what we are told, everything that we have to assume, because not everything is true. You will never get me to understand this entire breeze, snaps, and pops situation. I think everybody's lying. And I think it has gotten to the point where, everybody's like, no, snaps and pops. I think the biggest person who we have to look out for is not the snaps, it's not the pops, it's not Stefano, it's not Pino, it's not Flossie, but it's Breeze. Breeze is the one I feel is setting this whole thing up where Snaps and Pops was supposed to put Kanan Airfield in a situation where he would most people, the whole thing is to get back at his mother. They had their own little personal beef, but I believe that Breeze is behind the scenes actually manipulating everyone and is one, maybe 4 steps. Remember, he's playing the checkers, he's playing the chess, and you always got to be ahead of everyone else. And I think that the reason why last episode was called Pawns and Rooks when we showed him playing chess is not, well, obviously if everything would happen, but he's placing down the chess pieces so that Kanan will not only fall under his command, but to manipulate Kanan's entire situation to make things work out for Snaps and Pops, but for him. We already know that Snaps and Pops has told him from the very beginning, no side business. They know about his shenanigans since he was a kid, and that he was always a shenan and he will shenan again. But I feel that he is going to reiterate what kind of Ghost and Kanan told an older version of Breeze, and that is, you're getting in the way of our future. And he's going to say that to Snaps and Pops. This entire situation of the genealogy of the chart, to me, does not make sense. Years does not make sense. Dates of when DEFCON, he died in jail, but now it was Raquel that actually had him killed. That doesn't any sense. But the thing is, you don't really care about DEFCON. And, Kanan saying he doesn't care about DEFCON because DEFCON, we know, is not his daddy. It is Howard who is his daddy. But I do like the fact that Breeze kept saying, oh, yeah, he got rid of, he's saying, you know how easy it is for her to get rid of somebody in the family? You know how easy that whole thing is? While he doesn't know about Howard, I don't know how much Snaps and Pops have been, looking out in the streets to like really know what really happened to Howard. But I think he is purposely putting that in there because Kanan will have a frame of reference of how she did Howard. So I think that Breeze is not revealing every single thing that he knows about Kanan, but I think that he is, like I stated, is manipulating this entire situation. So let's go from the beginning, like I always do, because I love the opening and the closing monologues. And this whole thing was about swimming. And it says, when you're swimming, you can't tell that it's raining. You cannot tell if there's a war or something about to happen because you're already wet. You're already too deep in the game to realize when you're being manipulated and people are coming after you. So he's saying when you're swimming, you can't tell it's raining. You can't feel that because you're already wet. And the same thing is when you get caught up in the game. You get in so deep, you don't feel the storm headed your way. And by the time you do, it's too late because you're already drowning anyway. So I think that also applies to Raquel, where there are multiple wars that are happening all at the same time. And because she is withholding so much information, because she is taking on so much stress by not revealing what really happens with certain situations, that she's unable to calm and cool down the fires, and now you have a big firestorm. It's basically the Palisades all over again. If she would have told Marvin what happened with Lulu and how it went down with Kanan did not intentionally plan to kill Lulu. That whole thing was an accident. Okay? She did not state that. But what she did was she screamed that, Kanan killed Marvin. When she said it the way how she said it, it made it feel like it was so intentional. Like he purposely planned and plotted for this whole thing to happen. Instead of saying it was an accident. She needs someone to take out the rage that she is unable to get out her own self. And this has to go with what we see in the clip for the promo for next episode, is when Marvin says, you always make your stuff about everybody else. And as we see, she is so deep within trying to protect Kanan that it is causing so many fires right now. We have her and Kanan are in a war with each other. Well, we have Joaquin was taken out because of this. She's losing her businesses is being tampered with when it comes to Flossie as well. Remember the white guy? He was given bad drugs. As we all know, what Kanan knows how to do best is make them drugs bad. She's dealing with that. She's also dealing with Stefano, who is trying to kill her because Stefano has his own little problems. So we'll get into Stefano too. I think I'm the only person who feels sorry for Stefano. I really do. And I'll get into that in a minute. But Raquel has the Stefano situation, and now she's going to have the Marvin situation. Because Marvin genuinely would have killed Kanan, as we saw when he pulled out the gun, if it wasn't for Jukebox. And how sad is that? That it was Jukebox that saved Kanan's life, only for, obviously decades later, for Kanan to go and kill Jukebox. It just made me sad inside. But he would have died if it wasn't for Jukebox. And so Marvin, after that beatdown, it's not like, hey, we're cool again. He's going to continue to be on a warpath. And at the end of the day, Kanan is still her son. And as we saw, I don't want nothing to do with you, Kanan. Every week, I don't want nothing to do with you. We're not family no more. We're going to dead this. You still see that she's still trying to protect him. Even when Pino was like, you gotta start, ever so nicely, you gotta discipline your kid. She's like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And this is where I kind of wonder if, I can't even say that, Raquel purposely told Marvin with such passion that he killed Lulu was because of the whole he needs to be disciplined. I think it was because she was holding on to all of that anger, not just from what Kanan did, but going back all the way to their mother. She had all this built up anger that is just now spilling over and out. That is what happened. But, the fires are burning. Now, let's get to Kanan. As stated before, this episode was directed by Mario Van Peebles, which was amazing. We do know at the end of the day, Kanan lives, till the mid age of, I don't know, maybe 40s or something, and then he takes his own self out with the cops. But the thing is, I truly believe that what we're going to start to see is Kanan is going to lose it all. I think we're going to see a rebirth of Kanan under Breeze. And when I say by under Breeze, we're going to see Kanan in his full form, in the final form that we know him as. And I feel that you can't be in your I think that it would serve much better storyline wise if he loses it all in terms of his family. Now, when I say family, you have to lose. I don't mean that they have to die. Honestly, at this moment, I kind of think that Marvin is busy searching for God somewhere. He's on the way how this show is going. He might end up being one of them black Israelites on 125th Street in Harlem, screaming at people. Because you see how he's like now getting into Judaism. He did previously. He was into the Christianity. I think that he is searching for an answer with why did Lulu die? Why is his life this way? He's talking about his daughter Jukebox as well as what's going to happen to her soul. And the guy is saying, hey, don't worry about her. She'll have her moment with God when it comes for that moment to happen, which we all know she does end up meeting somebody at the end of the original Power. But he's searching for something that will give him the answer that he is looking for. And I don't know whether or not that's going to happen, because he's not searching for the answer. He is searching for an answer that best suits him. And when you don't get what you want to hear, you start moving on from, we saw him talking to the pastor. That didn't work out. Now he's like asking Flossie, what's this about this bar mitzvah? What's this bar sister? What's that all happening? So that's what I think is going on with this path. But as I originally was saying, Kanan losing it all, I think he's going to lose. People are going to walk away from him after this. And we know he can't die. I think we have all collectively come to the consensus that it just doesn't make any sense for Raquel to die. The way that Marvin is searching out, I know it could be a foreshadowing of death, but I don't see it that way. I think it's more of a foreshadowing of life. He does not know what his purpose is. He does not know what he is living for. And he might end up becoming either Muslim or a Jewish. That I'm not sure if I'm saying the proper terminologies. But that's what might end up happening to him. And what's to happen if he doesn't walk away from this all because of faith? Now, he does say to Raquel in the previous episode, that he's always going to be a big brother. And I think that is still going to be true. I think once we figure out what the situation with Kanan, because right now we all know he wants to kill Kanan, and I don't think that that's going, obviously he's not going to happen, but I don't think that is something in terms of he is going to want that revenge always. I think he's looking more of a spiritual way in order to find it, maybe to heal. And I think walking away, or maybe even if he does end up in jail, say for life, he ends up finding a religion that way. I don't know. But also going back with the terms of everybody that is drowning, here's the thing here. When Kanan, we'll get to Kanan getting his behind beat, he got bite. He looked like that episode of Martin when he had the allergy. He says here, you don't ever forget a whooping like that. It stays with you. But what doesn't kill you only makes you better. So you get strong, you get mean, and then you get even. this is when we see the death of Kanan. I believe it's like the whole phoenix, and you killed the phoenix, then it rises again. I think Kanan is going to take this moment under Breeze's wing, which we'll get into because I see a double manipulation with this. It's gonna be, it's played out right in my brain. This is gonna be genius. A double manipulation where he is going to use Breeze to learn how to become better, stronger, more strategic. We know that Breeze is a very strategic person. Remember, it was Breeze and his whole decision to take out Joaquin. Rest in peace to Joaquin. You did the job. And Joaquin, by the way, we'll get into some Easter eggs. I love how he foreshadowed everything that was going to happen to Breeze. If you never watched the original Power series, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's just saying that to say that. It was like, no, he said that, and it really does make sense. Remember what he said was the same thing happened. The same thing is going to happen to you one day. And then Breeze says, I'm gonna deserve it, just like you. And that's what I said. Oh my God. Breeze is actually the mastermind behind, I feel, maybe this whole DEFCON situation, in order to be like, we're brothers. We're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Because he, I feel, is playing the ultimate manipulation game and not telling Snaps and Pops because he wants Snaps and Pops to get out of the way. And he's going to use Kanan to do that. And I think that we already kind of expressed that. But for me, it just seems like he is the one who's truly a puppet master. And he's the one who's come up with the storyline and the genealogy chart. It just does the dates are not matching up and things I do not. We have stated this before. Is Kanan? We know Kanan is not really DEFCON's son. But also, is Breeze really DEFCON's son? It is no. I don't think that Snaps and Pops put Kanan out there. We're gonna figure out another way to kill Raquel, and it's not worked the first time with Kanan. And the fact that Crystal, we done blew off Crystal's head, and Famous is dead. And instead we're gonna pretend that you Breeze is really his brother or half brother, and go about it that way and get him more on our side. I don't think that's the case. And I think that they had a silent agreement. This is why I don't think that Raquel is going to die. Because remember how words, Dana, Breeze was saying, hey, yeah, your moms did this, your moms did that. And he's like, yeah, but that's my mom's. Don't worry about how I need to be handled. And I think it's one of those situations where, a family who may fight all the time. I can't stand you. I hate you. I hate you. But if somebody else was to step into that family and say the same thing that you said to your brother about your brother, but the fact that there's an outsider's coming in, and then now you got to whoop they behind to protect your family because it's more like only I can say that to them. That's what I think is going to happen with Kanan, which is also why I don't feel that Raquel is going to die. I feel like I have just went all over the place with this whole thing, and I'm trying to find my way back. Stefano. I am on Stefano's side, and I may be the only one on poor little Stefano's side, because he is starting to feel iced out in his own organization. We all know that, Raquel did not have him, murdered, attempted murder. At all. He retaliated against. Oh, I forgot the Italian guy's name. He retaliated against the guy because he stabbed him.
Phil Russo.
Yes, Phil Russo. The thing with Phil Russo, that was between those two, and he doesn't have someone to blame, so he's gonna blame it on Raquel because God forbid if you blame it on yourself and you realize, hey, I didn't look at this situation thoroughly. Therefore, I'm going to blame everybody. You see how Raquel and Stefano are basically the same person? It's so cute. And also, Stefano is doing the struggleification because he was also in love with Raquel. We all know this. Tony Danza stated this in a multitude of interviews, including mine. It was like, I love that sugar mom. And you can kind of see that Primo likes Raquel too. But Primo is more like, if you don't do what I say and if you start screwing up, I'm gonna still kill you. But I admire you, girl. And you kind of cute too. Something about Italian men really like black women. Anyway, What I'm simply saying when it comes to Stefano is nobody is on his side. You had the conversation between Stefano and Primo, and not Primo. Was it pronounced Stefano and Pino? Sorry, Stefano and Pino. They came together, and this is when I really thought like, oh, Stefano's gonna die because why are there like three other men with Stefano? Um, but you saw him talk to him, and he talked about the tenants. I really love my tenants. They always pay on time, and nobody messes with my tenants because that means that they have to mess with me. So basically, we all know that this was a very veiled but yet loud threat that says if you try to do something to Raquel again, I am going to kill you. And they had this huge conversation when Raquel and Pino were talking, saying, I know my day is coming when it comes to Stefano, but I'm always ahead. I have things out there, so don't worry about. So Stefano is going to die, I feel, in this show by the time we get to probably even before the finale. And then you had the whole fact that he is messing with Flossie's business as well. So now you got two people against you, and you probably have the organization. So I think that is we're going to probably see Pino go to, because remember he said, oh, he's still the boss. You can't do that. There's certain orders and ways that you have to get rid of somebody. So I think you have to go to the top in order to get the permission. And he is already just jabbing and talking. And the one thing that we learned is we don't like people who just keep talking, which is why I don't like Jarita. We'll get to Jarita. But I feel that we are going to see, Stefano be taken out by Pino eventually. I think it just makes him, because you got that, or you also have the whole Flossie situation, because Flossie said in the last episode, and she also said this episode, she's not against violence. She just believes that it should be well executed. Words executed, but she believes that if you have to take somebody out, you do it very smart and you make sure you have an actual reason. And then when it came to this episode, she was explaining how her daughters technically killed her, but not attempted. No, that's not even attempted murder. It would be minor manslaughter. But the boyfriend who drunk drive and got her daughter killed, he ended up falling in front of the 3 train. We don't know how that happened. And then, Marvin was a little slow, and she was like, ah, and then he was like, oh, and he was like, ooh. So, when people got to go, they have to go, but it's for an actual reason. So I really think that Flossie could teach, and going through, maybe if we do not mitzvah, but I don't know what they call it, temple, he will probably relearn how to manage that anger, where it's I can still get angry, I can still kill you, but I can be more sophisticated about it, less loud about it. But we also do have Kanan that we have to look out for. But I think Marvin's going to be okay. I really feel it in my heart and in my bones. Not Raquel. What is her name? Jukebox. Very interesting. She's growing into her own person. She is now getting her own team up together. And there's one thing that she said. She said, I'm tired of everybody getting paid but me. And I said, girl, that came from the soul. And that was the soul of basically everybody. Everybody got money but me. I'm broke. I would like some money. So good one for Jukebox for doing that. So I think I've talked way too much, and those are my thoughts. Overall, it is a very good show. That beatdown was a long time coming, but that is also the problem. It took too long to discipline Kanan. Kanan, as Marvin said, your father should have did this. And I'm like, well, which father? But your father should have did this. And this is what happens when you don't discipline your kid right at that window when they need that discipline, because Kanan is now grown. So that is not going to work anymore. You can't get mad at a kid for basically being you and following what you do and following after you. You got to put them in place. You got to put them in there early. So yes, we're moving on to Gary, because I think I didn't talk for 80 hours.
Oh no, you could talk forever because you're dropping gems right now. So yeah, you said a lot of interesting stuff there. I I like what you said about the frame of reference that Kanan has with Raquel killing Howard and stuff, and how that kind of parallels with uh, Breeze telling him that Raquel killed Defcon. And I like that you questioned that story as well, because that's something I'm going to come to later as well, because I don't know how truthful that story is about
And then
Raquel
also,
killing Defcon.
sorry.
Yeah, go on.
And if you go back to pawns and rooks, anyone who played chess, I'm gonna assume that you played chess because you sound British, and we don't. They love the chess over there. Um, you take out the pawns first, the little guys first, in order to get to the queen. You don't attack the queen. You get the little tiny things, and so he puts the little seeds of, well, you know how your mama was. That right there's a little pawn. Even if he knows that pawn in his daddy, you know how your mama was. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem like Breeze is running game on Kanan a little bit, but I think that eventually Kanan is going to catch on. Like, I don't think we're dealing with the same dumb Kanan that we're used to. I think he's evolving a little bit slowly, but he's evolving, and I think eventually he's gonna find out the truth. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. But I'll get into my takeaways now. So, speaking of parallels and stuff, I'm trying to read all of the parallels here, and in this episode, there was an interesting scene with Marvin and Flossie, because obviously Marvin had to go and smooth things over because Flossie was a little upset that the judge died and all that stuff, right? So Marvin had to go talk to her, and she finally revealed how her daughter died. And basically it was like it was an accident. It was a road accident. She went into a vehicle with her husband, and the husband was drunk, and he crashed, and the daughter died. And after that, Flossie was heavily insinuating that she had something happen to the the husband after that, that she was involved in his death when he fell into the train tracks or whatever. So, um, you know, uh, first of all, that goes to show that she is down with the violence when, when it needs to be done. So that goes back to what she said last week about, the violence. It needs to be meaningful. And then also, I'm just thinking about why this story is important, because they put these things in there for a reason, right? And I'm trying to think of the parallels with Marvin, and the obvious one would be, obviously Lou's death. He died, and now Marvin wants to deal with the killer. He wants to get revenge on whoever did it. But in the story, we're specifically talking about a daughter, and we know that the connection um, he shares with his daughter is stronger now than it has ever been. And we're seeing Jukebox kind of come into her own, and she's starting to, get her team together, like you said. Um, and I think that something might happen that kind of threatens Jukebox in this season, and maybe that causes Marvin to crash out and want to get some sort of revenge. But maybe this ends up being his downfall, whether it leads to his death or it leads to him getting caught or something. So yeah, I feel like that story was put there for a reason, to kind of show that like Marvin might end up being the person in that story to watch his daughter go through something, and then he wants to exact revenge on someone, but then I think it's going to end up being his downfall. So um I don't know how that's going to play out exactly. We know that in this episode he actually met with Garcia to give him the rest of the money. He also met with the little girl that he saved, and she basically told him, like, the cops, they don't believe my story. or whatever, and he told her to stick to the story. And I also believe that they're bringing this up for a reason too. So I think that investigation against him is going to intensify, and I think he is going to go to Garcia as well and try and get some information. I don't know if Garcia might potentially double cross him, or maybe he doesn't get his money in time, or something happens. And I do think there's a good chance that Marvin actually gets locked up and maybe he doesn't die. I would prefer him to get locked up um, than die, because if he dies in this, it's going to be such a heartbreaking scene. So I hope that that doesn't happen. I would prefer him to be locked up, but we'll have to wait and see, because this is it's going to be a tragic story one way or the other. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that Flossie story, because I do think that that was put in there for a specific reason. Uh, Second takeaway, I really think we're starting to see the cracks in Raquel. I think she's losing control. I remember in one of the episode descriptions, I can't remember if it was for episode 6 or 7, but it said Raquel loses control. And I think we're starting to see, that happen, because even in this episode, Bettina Miller does such an amazing job. But in this episode, she comes across as very desperate, like she's in every conversation she's in, she's irritated or agitated. So we're starting to see the cracks in Raquel appear. And um, in this episode, she has that conversation with Pino, right? Where he brings up Kanan, and he basically tells her, look, you have this son and he's dealing with your enemy. He's working with Stefano, and he's telling him everything about you, and this and that. And it's like in that moment it finally kind of sunk in how serious it is with Kanan, because before she was just letting it slide. I mean, obviously they were going tit for tat and taking these little innocent digs at each other, and she was shooting up his block and whatever, and he was retaliating. But I think she didn't realize how serious it was, and how much she needed to take action until that moment. And the fact that the message is coming from Pino, someone that she's in business with, I think that really hit deep for her, that she's kind of let things get out of control with Kanan. So I think that's what led to the moment later on where she just decides to tell Marvin. She, first of all, she kills the scooter guy, and I'm the replacement, by the way. I'm the new scooter guy, as you can see with my name here. But first of all, she kills him out of nowhere, and that was cold blooded, because he didn't really need to die. He wasn't involved in anything. Um, and then when Marvin questions her on why she's doing this, she just decides to tell him, Kanan killed Lou. And I was very shocked at how this came out, because obviously weeks ago I was thinking maybe Jukebox finds out, or maybe he goes looking for Unique, and Unique is the one that kind of puts it in his head that it was Kanan or someone from the family who killed Lou. But for it to come out in this way, it was very shocking. But it just shows how you know it shows how much Raquel is kind of losing control of the situation, how desperate she is now, to stop Kanan and Breeze. So, and then she realizes that Stefano, who is her biggest enemy, and who is kind of got to that life or death point with Stefano. So they're going to be trying to kill each other. So she finally realizes how serious it is that Kanan is aligned with him. So she tells Marvin that he killed Lou, and yeah, I just think this that is going to have a spiral effect. Like things are going to spiral from that point on for her, and everything is going to fall apart. Like I don't see anything, you know, be like I basically I think this is the undoing of Raquel. I think that her outcome is going to be that she loses everything. She loses her family. She loses the business. Um, and you know, me and Moviebot was actually talking about this too. He and um, I believe that she is gonna and just move away and end up with nothing. I think that's her outcome. You know, she loses everything. She loses her son, her brother, her you know Lou. She loses the business. She has nothing left. You know, everything's gone. I think that's her outcome, and we're starting to see that happen now. What was you going to say, Dana? Yeah, I think you agree, right?
This was me hooting and hollering and saying the same thing. She
Yeah,
has to. It only makes sense. Her dying does, and I love how like we're all in the collective. How it was like Raquel gotta die. Now it's like no, we want her to live. Her dying doesn't make any sense. And just on a writing standpoint, I really hate the fact that it would be like, oh, we all thought she was gonna die, and then she actually dies later on. I don't like that. But she has to be completely isolated. Her downfall is having nothing. And I mean no connections at all. And you could be like, well, she could just rebuild again. It needs to be a way where she cannot rebuild again. She needs to be, think of Franklin from Snowfall. That's what I want. And I think that is because you cannot say she is a victim in all of this. There are something, yes, she had to clean up everybody else's mess. But my God, Kanan is over 20 years old now. How many times, how long are you going to keep cleaning up, keep blaming that on that boy and blaming other things on everybody else? As Marvin said in the future episode, in episode 6, you know, how does everybody else's, how does your problem becomes everybody else's problem? You never take responsibility for anything. And the best thing for this to happen is that she has nothing. She's wandering the streets alone with no family. Everybody needs to walk away from her. I know they didn't have this in the 90s, but bring back what they just didn't say it because there was no terminology for things. No contact. Little children today, the little gens, what are you, Gen A, B, C, Z, or whatever? No contact. That's what needs to happen to Raquel. And that's when everybody has no contact with Raquel. They go on all about their day. They celebrate their holidays. They move on mentally, physically, spiritually from Raquel. She needs to be cut off. And that's not to say that Raquel wasn't a good person. She was. But my God, she's becoming her mother. Everything that she complained about with her mother, she is now becoming. And you see, when I did the interview with Sasha Penn, we talked about generational trauma. This whole stinking family needs to go no contact with each other because they're all toxic, and toxicity feeds on toxicity. I'm done. I'm sorry.
yeah. I'm glad you brought up the Franklin thing, right? Because Franklin from Snowfall, you know, he ends up being a drunk, basically, and that's the future. I kind of see a similar outcome for Raquel. So when Kanan in original Power, he says, you know, I went to go see my mom. I think he means he went to go see her, but she's this old, deranged, paranoid woman who's, you know, she's not like her former self, you know. Um, so
Well, basically, she's like when she went to go visit grandma. Remember, grandma was falling all over the place. Grandma was falling all over the place. You know, and I think that he, you know, we know that, and again, we don't know if it's I went to go see mom because she's in the grave or she's in jail or she just moved away, but it would be best if it's like grandma situation where I don't like you, I'm always still have love for you, don't talk to me, don't do anything with me, I'll make sure you still got food in the refrigerator, but anything else, I'm gonna say hi and I'm gonna say bye. That's it. I'm not gonna tell you about my personals, my generals, or any else. We done.
Yeah, like she could even be like mentally unstable or something, and she has like a carer living with her or something like that. You know, that's the future I see for her. When Kanan's saying I went to see my mom, you know, so yeah, I think that's the outcome for her. I don't see her dying. If somebody does die, I think it will be Marvin, but I don't want to see that. I want him. I'd rather he be locked up. Um, because it's going to be very tragic to see him, you know, get killed. But I don't see Raquel dying either, you know, because I don't know. I just don't see it. I think that the worst thing for her is to lose everything and you know just end up as this crazy woman, you know. So I that's what I think's happening, and we start to see it in this episode because in every scene she's in, she's kind of like losing her patience. You can see it in her facial expressions and stuff. She's like, you know, she's getting very agitated. She's not in control like she usually is. She's not calm. You know, you can see that she's under stress and pressure right now. So, yeah, I think we're starting to see that now. Um, and yeah, I can't wait to see that play out over the next 3 episodes. And my final takeaway. So, of course, I have to talk about the arse whooping. You know, that was the meat and potatoes of the episode, and that was an epic arse whooping. That's the moment we've been waiting for. I think it came way too late in Kanan's life. I think an arse whooping like this, if it happened earlier, it could have maybe changed the trajectory of his life, maybe. But yeah, because Marvin's been wanting to do this for a long time. You know, he's been wanting to discipline Kanan for a long time when he saw him talking sideways about his mother and everything. So we finally got it. It finally happened. And Kanan, you know, Dana actually mentioned it, but he was saved by Jukebox. Jukebox saved him because if she hadn't have been there, Marvin would have definitely killed him. You know, um, he would have kept hitting him, and he probably would have finished the job with the gun. But yeah, he was saved by Jukebox, and that's interesting because I want to know what Jukebox's reaction is going to be from here because Marvin tells her he killed Lou. So how is she going to act towards Kanan now? Even though she obviously did save his life, but what's the relationship going to be like after this? You know, and how do we get to what we saw in the original Power? Like, because we see that their relationship is kind of damaged in original Power. So is this what kind of started it off, where you know their friendship and bond as cousins kind of fractures? So yeah, I'm really interested to see what Jukebox's energy is like towards Kanan after this. Um, but then, of course, you know, we got to talk about as well what is Kanan's reaction going to be to this ass whooping. Now we know in his voiceover, he said, I think I wrote it down somewhere. What did he say? Uh, he said, "You get basically after a beating like that, you get strong, you get mean, and then you get even." So based on that, we know he's coming at Marvin and Raquel's business hard after this, especially with what Breeze did when you know he took out Joaquin. It's going to get personal from here on. There's no going back. Like there's no like blood does not matter anymore to Kanan. He does not care about the blood. He is going hard at them after this, and like Breeze is gonna make him go hard after this because when Breeze see like we obviously in the trailer we kind of see. And Breeze basically tells him like we can't let people see you like this because they're going to try and test you. So Breeze isn't going to be happy that he took that ass beating. Um, so yeah, like I think what Dana said about this is what makes Kanan. This is what makes him the Kanan that we saw. I agree. Like from here on, he is going to become that dark horse character that we know in original Power, like where he just doesn't care about anything. Like, because yeah, like there's no way he's letting that go. So he doesn't care about the fact that Raquel is his mother. He doesn't care about Marvin being his uncle. He just wants his get back now, and he is going to get even one way or another. And I can't wait to see how it all plays out. There was one more thing I wanted to say, but kind of skipped, kind of slipped my mind. But yeah, there was one more thing I was going to talk about, but I can't remember. But Richard is here, so it's time to hear from Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. So, Richard, let us know what your thoughts are on this episode.
Okay, first and foremost, can you hear me clear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. Okay. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, that I was not here. There's some work going on right now at my house, construction type stuff, so it's incredibly loud. I wanted to be somewhere where I was, at least I sound a little bit more clear. So let me start by saying, shout outs to Gary and Dana. I'm sure they had phenomenal takes. I don't know if I will be as phenomenal, but I will try my best. All right. First and foremost, yeah, I thought this was a great episode of Raising Kanan. Yeah, fantastic. The entire season has been great. I said on the last podcast that one thing I love about this season, even though it's only 8 episodes, Sasha Penn and his team, they do a phenomenal job packing as much as possible into every episode. This obviously was no exception. The name of the episode was School of War. And pretty much the vibe of this episode, you were seeing how this war was continuing to evolve between the Thomas family and, of course, Breeze and Kanan, what they're doing with their business. And, of course, Dana's favorite character, Stefano, who I must say, this guy has got to go. Because this entire episode, he just kept reminding people, hey, Raquel is very bad for your business, and obviously he kept telling everybody who wanted to hear. But of course, like Gary mentioned, I think that will be proven when Raquel starts to lose everything. Everybody will turn on her eventually. So stay tuned for that. But I'm going to get into my takeaways. My first takeaway from this episode, I want to talk about Jukebox very briefly. We saw in this episode that Garcia continues to press her for the money. And Gary made the excellent prediction previously that Marvin probably is going to eventually help Jukebox. So, yes, that was a very good prediction, Gary. You got that correct. Obviously, we do find out that Jukebox also wants to start doing her own thing because she's not making enough money with the business the way that things are running right now. And she pretty much is starting to talk to a lot of the kids that she worked with before to get that whole process going. So I do want to see where they go with that. But the interesting thing is when Marvin did help her with the money, we now find out she's trying to find out who took out Famous. All right. And obviously she knows about the crooked cops, that they could be involved. She tells Garcia this, and Garcia starts to question his other peers. And now he thinks that, yes, they possibly were involved. So the next episode, I do expect there to be a revelation where he basically does confirm who was involved. And eventually this gets back that Snaps and Pops were the ones that paid these people to do what they did. So I do want to see where they're going with that. I like how they're taking their time to evolve that storyline throughout the entire season, as it will be some huge bombshell towards the end when Kanan finds out. And I do want to see what happens from there. My second takeaway of this episode, I'm going to talk about, obviously, Raquel and Marvin in this episode. I think it's very interesting that, as Gary already brought up, that Pino does find out that Kanan is her son. He's involved. I think it's very interesting that this entire episode, Raquel is not really truthful with the people she's working with. Now, obviously, she does tell Pino she didn't have anything to do with Stefano getting taken out, even though he knows, and that's revealed throughout the episode. She, of course, falls out of favor with Joaquin as well. So you're starting to see all the things that she's built up with these partnerships. They're starting to crumble slowly but surely. And of course, at the same time, while this is happening, at the beginning of the episode, she's basically, what I like about this episode is that she tells Marvin at the beginning of the episode, just stay calm. She does tell him that Kanan was involved with what happened with the person getting drugged, with the politician getting drugged. And she's telling Marvin the entire episode, just relax, take it easy. And then obviously by the end of this episode, she loses it. And that's when she tells Marvin, yes, that Kanan took out Lulu. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yes, sticking with those two characters in this episode, I did find it interesting that Marvin, basically, he meets up with Amber. He tells her, keep lying to the cops. Remember the story that we had. All that, again, all this is going to turn against Marvin later. So I do want to see where they're going with that. Also, at the same time, Marvin does talk with Flossie, and we find out the story about what happened to her daughter and the actions that were taken against the individual that had to do with her daughter getting taken out, which implies, obviously, Flossie was involved in that because we all had questions about what her motives are, what her secrets are. They did a very good job of answering those questions in this episode. At the same time, we also find out that, because of all the stuff that's escalating with Kanan, Marvin and Raquel decide to kidnap one of Kanan's corner boys. Primo, I think is his name, another favorite character of Gary's, because he likes all these characters that eventually end up getting killed. Yes, they do kidnap this guy, and pretty much Raquel takes it far by taking him out. And obviously, at that moment, that's when she does tell Marvin that, yes, Kanan, he killed Lou. So this now goes to my final takeaway of this episode. And let me just say this, Gary, you already mentioned it was an epic ass whooping. I'm going to take this a step further. Kanan got his ass whooped so badly. This was by far the best and most brutal beatdown compared to any other power show I've seen Tariq get whooped. By far, is hands down. This is, and I know people may debate this later. No, that was an excellent fight. I saw that London Brown did an interview where he was talking about that fight. He also said that Makai improvised and had some of his own stunts that he put into that fight. Yes, it was fantastic. Everything about that fight was awesome. And yes, it will change Kanan forever in a very bad way. But I enjoyed that fight. Sticking with other stuff that happened with Kanan in this episode, yes, Stefano, like I said earlier, he's been telling everybody about how bad Raquel is. He does tell Kanan she tried to come after him, and Kanan says, do what you got to do. Of course, Kanan he obviously is still working with Breeze and trying to take over, because they had that whole thing at the beginning of the episode where there was another guy they met up named George who Kanan was trying to get the product from. The guy didn't recognize him, but he says, no, I'm used to working with Taz. And of course, they beat the hell out of him. Kanan and Breeze beat the hell out of that guy to prove a point and say, no, you're listening to Kanan now. He's the guy you should be working with. And then, of course, a very interesting dialogue back and forth between Breeze and Kanan in the diner. We basically talks about his history, talks about the fact, yes, obviously Raquel killed DEFCON, my dad. The relation with Snaps and Pops, all that other stuff, which explains why Snaps and Pops really hate Raquel, because she took out DEFCON. So yeah, I like how they expanded upon all of these things. And then, of course, to go to the point that Gary mentioned earlier about Breeze taking out Joaquin. Yes, I figured that character was on his way out. I didn't know that Breeze is going to be the one to take him out. So I do want to see how this impacts a lot of things moving forward. But once again, the last thing I will mention is, again, the beatdown that Kanan received at the end of this episode. I had to watch this beatdown multiple times because, like y'all said, the discipline was needed with Kanan a long time ago. And as a fan, yeah, you think, yeah, Kanan got what he deserved, but this is where I do slightly disagree with what Gary said. I think Marvin is going to get taken out because, listen, he can go to jail. That would make a lot of sense, right? But I kind of feel like with all the stuff happening with Marvin on the emotional level, it feels like something very bad is going to happen to this character. I think him going to jail would be bad, But I think him getting taken out would be worse because it explains why Jukebox goes down the path that she goes down. But again, let's see what happens. But overall, fantastic episode. A outstanding beatdown of Kanan. So 2 thumbs up. And I can't wait to see what happens next.
Oh yeah, no, that was phenomenal too, Rich. So, we gotta clap it up for you because your takeaways were also very good. Um, and yeah, as for Marvin, I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he dies, but I that's just not something I want to see. Like I feel like that's going to be really hard to watch because it's going to be a heartbreaking scene to watch him get taken out. But yeah, I mean, it could happen. It very very well could happen because he's got some serious enemies right now. He's got Breeze, Kanan, and Stefano all against him. So I mean, it very well could happen, but we'll have to wait and see. Go ahead, Dana. You wanted to say something?
I just wanted to say something oh god, I just wanted to say something in regards to what happened with the whole Kanan situation. Is that he looked like this? If you can see it, please pop up. But for those Heat in America, I had to show Gary this. It was basically this. This was an episode of Martin. This was Martin. I absolutely loved it. I wanted to bring up some things. We did a lot of foreshadowing in this episode that I missed, but it was really interesting when it came to Jukebox, where Jukebox went to, I forgot the name of her friend, but she went to the friend and was like, hey, look, I'm starting a team, be a part of the Avengers. And I want you to be a part of it and tell everybody about it as well. And she said, basically, this is not little stick-up joints that they're not doing. And I thought that was funny because Jukebox is introduced in the original Power as the kids running around trying to stick up the guy in the bodega. And then, of course, it goes terribly wrong. So I thought that was funny. That was one little tiny thing that I got there. Also, another thing I wanted to mention that nobody mentioned was when Jukebox went to Kanan and she was like, I got Garcia to work with us so we could find out what happened to Fame. What was his response? Forget Fame. And she was like, and wasn't it your friend? What do you mean? Like she's been going through all this whole dazzle, basically bribing and blackmailing this police officer. And he's just like, yeah, I don't care. I wanted to say that this, I feel, was the moment when Kanan fully disassociated. And of course, it goes back to Raquel. But he fully disassociated. And I feel that there's a difference between, I couldn't figure out why is Kanan so afraid of Jukebox, right? And I think that this show, when we get to maybe the finale, is going to explain that hardened difference. Because remember, in the original Power, Jukebox was described as someone who's harder than all of us. And remember that conversation that, what was it, Kanan had with Ghost. And he was like, oh, is it Tommy? And he was like, nah. Then Ghost said, it's Jukebox. And it was like this cloud of fear that came over him. Everybody is afraid of Jukebox. And I wanted to find out, what is the difference? I think that we have been labeling Kanan wrong in terms of, now obviously nobody here are clinical psychologists, so this is all conversation chip. I think that Jukebox actually becomes the psychopath. And Kanan is the one who disassociates. They're both shaped by obviously their environment. But the difference is that, they're more impulsive, erratic, they're shaped by environmental factors like trauma. And as much as I want to say, and I just gave this speech, clearly Marvin can't die. But what if he does? And what if it's by Garcia? That explains why she ends up, now we know she ends up being a cop. Now we're talking about years later, obviously, but she ends up being a cop because Kanan tells her, look, you're already crazy and you take so much joy in this, in terms of like obviously being crazy and probably killing people. He pushes her to try to get that training. We know that she is extremely intelligent. It is explained in the OG Power. She has 8 years of experience. She wins all these awards. She's highly decorated, but so she can split that where she is legit crazy to the point where everybody's afraid of her. And she does have that side business. That side of not just, oh, I don't like the cops, I don't trust them. There is something that has to do directly with a cop and her father. So I am going to completely avoid what I just said, but it's starting to make me more feel that Garcia, somebody has to be involved where Marvin dies. Or maybe it's a Marvin situation where he sacrifices himself for Jukebox, like Kanan sacrificed himself for Tariq. Maybe. I'm just talking out in my head. But I feel that Kanan, when he got that beat down, and remember his thing was, as you stated before, it stays with you, so you get strong, you get mean. He is purposely getting mean on purpose. He's disassociated from his, I'm gonna try to be the nice guy. He has disassociated that to now he's going to be the Kanan that we know, and that's disassociation and not the psychopath. Jukebox ends up becoming that psychopath. So I just really wanted to state that as well, and I just love the fact that they talked about, we're not doing stick-ups anymore, and it was funny because that's how she's introduced, by making these kids go and do a stick-up. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a great observation about the stick-up thing, because that's exactly how she's introduced in original Power. And another observation as well from this episode is with Breeze when he's in the apartment watching Jeopardy, because we know that was one of his characteristics where he likes Jeopardy. And I believe that was the same apartment that Kanan went to in OG Power, and he brought Tariq there. So that was a really cool little Easter egg they put in there for this episode. So yeah, good stuff. Go ahead.
God darn it! Sorry, mute. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, this I really feel is when we're gonna start seeing Kanan versus Breeze. Remember how I told you previously, you wasn't here with you for this, that conversation that they had in the diner, where he was like, where Breeze is saying, yeah, your mom's are this, your mom's are that, and he was like, don't worry about my mom. Why are we talking about my mom? And I said that, no one I feel can touch Raquel like that. An outsider. Stefano is different. That's a whole different relationship. But how dare you talk about my mother when only I can talk about my mother like that? So I think we're going to start seeing Kanan versus Breeze, but the strategic chest way. And remember, he said the reason why Breeze died was because you're getting in the way of our future. It was exactly what he said, word for word, verbatim. And like I stated, that's what's going to happen with Snaps and Breeze. I also want to bring out that Breeze is going to start bringing out Breeze is going to bring out Kanan's violent side, because remember when they was beaten down, oh Lord, I forgot the man, but the truck, he had a whole name, but he was beating down the truck guy. Kanan was like, yeah, ooh, that was my brother. So he is going to start learning more of that hardening. But I think that they're both going to strategically start planning. It doesn't mean like in this finale, but we start still planning for what's going to happen in Origins. But they're going to start feeling out each other. He's going to study Kanan. Kanan is going to study Breeze more to become, not become like Breeze, but to get those qualities of Breeze. I think there's a lot of different people that makes up Kanan. We all know about the mama situation. But also bringing back with the mama. He said, yeah, you're only one half of Raquel. You're DEFCON. And I think that's when he starts walking around more proudly, like, I'm Kanan Stark. Not because we all know biologically he ain't, but to take on that identity. I don't know the psychological definition of this, but we're going to start seeing Kanan take on a completely different identity after he is disassociated and got his behind beat by Marvin. So, yeah, I'm done. I'm sorry. I talked.
Yeah, no, you're talking facts. You're definitely on the road today. Because to me it does seem like with their interactions, Kanan and Breeze are constantly playing chess against each other. It seems like it because I really feel like, and we talked about this earlier, Richard, but I really feel like Breeze wasn't telling the truth when he said that Raquel killed DEFCON. I think he's trying to plant some seeds into Kanan's head to make him turn against his mother and stuff. But I think Kanan recognizes that, and obviously Kanan knows that he's not really DEFCON's son as well. So, but he's not going to say that, So they're really playing chess against each other. They do have a bond, and they do work really well together in the streets. But I think it's an ongoing chess match between these two, and that's why I think the theory that Kanan actually manipulates Ghost into killing Breeze is plausible, because I really think that is something that's going to happen, because it seems like these two are just in a constant chess match. So
because Richard, I don't think we discussed this on the air when we came to the dates not matching up, the genealogy of not matching up, because remember DEFCON went to jail. It was on screen where Howard was in the police office looking up information. DEFCON went to jail on September 14th, 1974. It was alleged, we're assumed that he died in prison. So that's why Kanan was like, I really don't know him. And Breeze was also like, I really don't know him. And we were estimating that Breeze and Kanan are not that far in age. So, and where we know, or we're told originally, like I stated, he died in prison. We don't think that Raquel had all of that pull yet to get DEFCON murdered in prison. So we just don't know how things are adding up. And on top of that, what was told to us was DEFCON, Snaps and Pops wanted Raquel to pay for DEFCON because they were real close to each other. They broke it down by Snaps was help me, Gary. The genealogy?
Oh, you mean like he's Breeze's uncle? Or
Yes. He was Breeze's uncle. And it was just like, if you're that close, wouldn't Raquel know who was the uncle? Like, things just are not, you can poke holes all day in this story where it just doesn't seem to make up. And so we was discussing who came up with the lie. Was it Snap, Pops, Breeze, or was it, no, it was a Snaps, Pops, or Breeze. So we don't know. I would also love to know if that would pose that as a question as well. Who the heck is lying, if anybody is lying?
Yeah, because I guess it is a bit questionable that Raquel didn't know of Breeze, at all. So but if DEFCON was with another woman before her, and he's a gay guy, wouldn't she know something? Especially because she knows Snaps and Pops. So did they just not mention that? Like there has to be some lies somewhere here. Either Breeze is lying about being DEFCON's son, or they're lying to him.
I think Snaps and Pops are lying. They're the ones behind this. And you made the comment, Gary, about maybe DEFCON was with another woman. No, DEF CON was with Omar from The Wire. What are you talking about, Gary? No, but
Yeah.
no, I think it, because again, it has to be snaps and pops, right? Because we need to see how they get to this point where eventually they get taken out, and that is coming. And one, just to go to what y'all were talking about earlier with the conversations that Breeze was having with Kanan, he also was telling Kanan that the stuff he was doing with the pills, that was stuff on the side. And he said, don't tell Snaps and Pops about this. So like y'all said before, he has his own agenda of the stuff that he's doing outside of whatever is going on with the Snaps and Pops. Eventually they're going to find out. And that's why I said I want to see how everything comes to a head with that relationship. But I assume that they are definitely keeping a lot more secrets. Aside from the fact that they took out Crystal and Famous, they definitely have some secrets, and I'm sure they haven't told Breeze everything.
Yeah, and the thing about the pills, the pill business, because Breeze told Kanan, "I'm giving you a piece of this business," right? So that's going to be their thing. So because of that, it actually doesn't matter if Stefano dies, because remember, at the moment they're doing business with Stefano with Snaps and Pops. So if Stefano gets taken out, that might inconvenience Snaps and Pops, but Breeze is already making his own moves, so if you add to that Kanan finding out that Snaps and Pops killed Famous and Crystal, and maybe Breeze finds out that Snaps and Pops lied to him or something, then maybe that's the reason they end up taking out Snaps and Pops, because it's like we're already doing our own business, we don't need them, they're just holding us back, and they're lying to us. So I think it kind of makes sense. So if Stefano does get taken out, it doesn't even matter. Go ahead, Dana.
Stefano. Okay, can we switch to Stefano? Because I wanted to bring up one thing back when it came to the Breeze situationship, was this. They broke it down where it says Breeze didn't know DEF CON enough to care about him, but he knows that Rock doesn't mind taking out family. Breeze is setting up Kanan mentally to think that Raquel is going to kill him. And I think that is one of the biggest things that was the switch. Because remember, the whole switch was, you have to kill Raquel. Now all of a sudden, Raquel is going to kill you. So I don't know if Breeze, Snaps, and Pops are working together in tandem, or they have separate things, because it's starting to conflict with each other. So that's, for me, is where the whole is either a miscommunication, or Breeze is trying to take out everybody, and to bring out, where his Snaps and Pops, by the way. We don't know where they at. I'm getting frustrated a little bit, but I'm just trying to figure out who is doing what, and then where's Freddie? Can we have a conversation with Freddie? Remember, Freddie was the righteous man that Breeze's mama ended up with. So this whole thing, because it's just it says Snaps is Breeze's mother's brother, who was named Henry. Freddie came from DEF CON going to jail. Breeze's mom met a righteous man, married him, and gave him his last name. And also with the whole Stefano situation, I think I already talked about this. I just felt really sorry for him. He's doing too much and he's going too hard. He just needs to be. Even if you want to take somebody out, that's all he needs to do. And I think he's starting to probably foreshadow his own death. And I wonder what his contingency plan is, because Pino basically said, yeah, I got a contingency plan if I'm taken out. But what does Stefano have? What's going on?
I'm just going to make a quick comment. Since Dana mentioned Stefano, I will say, don't worry about Stefano, because Raquel is going to show him who's the boss. Okay, so stay tuned for that because this character needs to get taken out, and he deserves it after this episode. The way he was talking to everybody that would listen. No, it's his time is up, ladies and gentlemen.
There's an
Yeah,
entire generation that doesn't understand that joke, and that makes it even funnier.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree, Rich, and I think there's moves being made behind the scenes because something tells me that both Pino and Flossie have spoken to higher ups in the mafia or whatever to kind of have to approve his death because the fact that Pino went to see Stefano and he basically, he stood on business this time. He was like, look, I'm working with Raquel and that's what it is, right? And then later on, Flossie kind of tells him the same thing, but like she's a lot more charming with it. They have some banter, some they talk about their health and all that stuff. But I think that the reason we had these two meetings is because those two characters, Pino and Flossie, I think that they've already had his murder approved behind the scenes by the higher powers that be. So I think we're definitely gonna see him get taken out sometime soon. But I wanted to ask you guys something about Stefano because in this episode, when he met with Breeze, he did say that he's gonna handle the prostitution business. Like he's gonna handle that basically. So what do you think he has planned? Like because he basically said that he has plans to kind of get back at Raquel and Flossie. So is he gonna do something? go,
Well, that's
go ahead, Rich.
that's a great question, Gary, because I also wondered what he meant when he said that. I really don't know what his plan could be. I mean, what is he going to try to intercept if he has someone else that is working on the inside and he sees that one of Flossie's women is with one of the guys? He's going to try to intercept that. I have no idea. But since you are talking about Flossie, and I don't know if y'all have already mentioned this, I think we can all agree that Jarita's time working with Flossie is about to come to an end. I mean, this episode made it very clear. We've already mentioned that we know that this is Sean's mom. So at some point, she's going to tell Flossie she has to quit because she has a baby on the way. We can see that coming from a mile away, but we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I think next episode she finds out she's pregnant or something. So yeah, it's a wrap for that. And I don't know how many other prostitutes they have in the business. I guess they have more that we haven't seen, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. And especially if Flossie finds out that she got pregnant by Raquel's son, that's gonna that's gonna make things interesting too. So yeah, but Dana, what's your thoughts? Do you think Stefano might
Yeah,
interfere with the business?
I never thought of the connection of Flossie finding out that Jarita gets pregnant by Kanan's son, and then Raquel has been hiding Kanan from Flossie this entire time, where only Stefano knows, and therefore Stefano can use that as an upper hand. And I'm starting to wonder when Jarita said, it's not about the money anymore. That is when I think they start having unprotected hoo ha. So not this episode where she's already pregnant. I think in like the upcoming one. No, I don't know. Okay, let me shut up because then I'm gonna show my ignorance. But I don't think that she is pregnant right now. Okay, maybe it's the later that we got another half. But I don't think that she's pregnant now. Because if you are with a prostitute, a lady of the night, you will be protected because she's had a lot of things and digging in the holes. That was so crass. I'm sorry. Okay. How do I put this in the thing? I think that Stefano is going to start maybe killing off the girls. And this is the perfect example of why Jarita, remember he says, I'm just, I'm here to protect you. I think Jarita makes it out, obviously she makes it out perfectly fine because of that protection. But Stefano is going to start probably killing the girls. That hurts their business more than anything else because now you don't have a girl. You don't have these girls that have been in your system for so long that you can trust them. And then it's like, oh, well, first I didn't have any problems before, but then Raquel came in. Now my clients are dropping dead from bad drugs. Now my girls are missing, and now they're actually dead. Jarita over here got out safely, but that's kind of weird and convenient. What's really going on? Pino knows about Kanan. I think we're going to get a scene where we're going to have a conversation between Pino and Flossie. Because remember, one was recommended. You can't have one without the other. They were recommended as a little duo thing. So I think that is what's going to happen there. And then all of a sudden, Raquel's distributor, Primo, he did. He in the bathroom. So they're going to start putting the pieces together. And Raquel is going to literally, all she has is Marvin. And what? So this is when I think we're going to start having bigger issues. And I didn't realize that Jarita, which I really hate. I'm sorry. I don't like romance and my dramas, my hard-hidden crime dramas. I know it sounds really stupid of me to say. I'm just not a romance person. But, her catching feelings for Kanan needs to happen so that she is able to escape from Flossie when Stefano starts taking out everybody. Because remember how she stated, it's not like, oh, I don't feel right. She's really catching feelings for Kanan. And she's really imagining her life not being a prostitute anymore. So therefore, I feel that this move, Kanan, oh God, forgive me, has unintentionally saved her life. Even though it's moving so quick, I can make the argument, oh, it's too convenient. But this seems to work. I still don't understand why she's attached to Kanan, especially when she's like, I've seen this all before. You're falling for literally what you've seen before. I know you were different, but you're also kind of the same. I think that's what's going to save her life. So.
I just want to make a quick comment. We're going to find out if she's a real one when she see how Kanan's face look now, because he got absolutely destroyed. So hey, we're going to find out in the next episode.
Oh gosh. He always said in the future, Jarita was always a ride or die. And that's what he really loved about her, was not the fact that she gave birth to his son, but she was always a ride or die. And therefore, I think that I'm kind of wondering, is Jarita going to be the one to find out the master plan when it comes between what's going on with Snap, Pops, and Breeze, as opposed to him? Because remember, she's doing all the talking, but he's not talking. He purposely said, my business is my business, right? So I'm starting to wonder if he's going to open up to her and she's going to be the one to figure things out. Because I think once that whole scene with Jukebox, and it was like, he did what? I don't think they're going to be, it's weird. We do know that they stopped talking for a period, but I don't think that this is the moment where they stop talking. But I kind of feel that Jarita hopefully has a larger role than just being Sean's mom. That's what I'm praying for. And that she's the one to talk to Kanan, and Kanan actually opens up to her and explains things. And that's when we get, I don't care what you're involved with. I'm here with you no matter what. They come after me, they come after us. Hopefully. Because I don't know what Jukebox, I think, is going to be so angry. She's going to need a moment before she goes back to Kanan, because that was her uncle too, and she's been bribing cops and everything else. Not not because of what happened to Lulu, but she has been on this path because of Kanan and his actions and how his feelings and his emotions before he became disassociated. So yeah.
Yeah, you make a good point. Because I do think he's gonna have to explain some things to Jarita when she sees him like that. Because maybe Kanan will probably try to avoid her because while he's healing. But I think that she's at a point where she's gonna go looking for him regardless. So I think she's gonna show up, and then he's gonna have to explain, what's going on with him, and that's when he's finally gonna open up to her and tell her basically about his business and what he does and his family and stuff like that. So especially whenever she tells him that she's pregnant, I think he's going to start, considering her more family as well. So, and maybe there's gonna. I don't know if that happens in the next episode. Maybe episode 7 is when she's pregnant, because I would think there's maybe a little time skip or something, and then that's when she gets pregnant. So, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Go ahead, Dana. You look like you wanted to say something.
No, we all know that the timeline is. I think they jump up, like, isn't it a couple years when it comes to Origins? So I'm just kind of
I think when it comes to Origins, I think they're kind of retconning the timeline a bit, because if I remember correctly, it starts in 2002 or something like that.
Oh, we got the 2000s with the good music. Anyway, yeah. So for me, I wonder if Sean is going to be. I wonder if he's going to either be born in Origins, or we're going to do a time jump where he pops out in. I don't want him to come now. It's too early. I think it could happen between the time gap where he could, he exists. I'm trying to think about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she could get pregnant in this, in like she could get pregnant in Raising Kanan, and then in Origins, maybe I guess he's a toddler or something. He's a young boy, but I don't think we're gonna see a lot of Kanan's family in Origins. I think it's gonna be more focused on.
They're all dead in prison or left.
Yeah. So we probably won't even see Sean that much. We'll just know that he has Sean.
Yeah. I'm also concerned about Marvin and that white girl.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Marvin, right? So obviously, once Raquel tells Marvin that it was Kanan that killed Lou, things happen very fast because it's towards the end of the episode, right? So then he goes directly to Kanan and gives him the ass whooping. And that's how the episode closes. But we don't get to see how Marvin reacts towards Raquel when he hears that. But the trailer shows that they are going to have that conversation. And what the trailer shows is that Marvin's basically saying, like, you're always trying to protect Kanan and stuff. But there has to be a lot more to that conversation, because the fact that Raquel lied to him, like just plain lied to him about Lou's death like that's a big deal. And I think that this is going to have some lasting impact on their relationship as brother and sister, especially coming after the conversation they had last week where Marvin was like, "Look, I'm your older brother. I'm always going to be there for you, and I'm riding out for you and stuff like that." Like now knowing that Raquel just flat out lied to him about Lou's death, right? And she was ready to have him go chase Unique, even though it was risking his own life. Because Unique could have, we don't know what Unique could have, like he could have had a whole army, and ready to kill Marvin or something. So he's risking his life trying to get back at Unique, and she just let him do that. And she just openly lied. And this is a serious thing. So I want to ask you guys, like, what do you expect Marvin to say to Raquel about her lies in the next episode? And like, how is he gonna now react to her? Like, how is their relationship gonna change? Is he gonna just continue to blindly follow her and be her number one enforcer, or is something gonna change between them? So what do you think about that, Dana?
As a writer, everyone on here are writers. We want an evolution of the story and characters. So for him to continue to be like, "I'm your ride or die," that's no fun. Okay, you are also. Oh, you told off Raquel. Obviously, this was before he found out about Marvin when he says, "Oh, you always blame everyone else for your stuff." That was literally right after she killed the boy. And then he said that, but that is still true. And I think if you want a character to evolve, the one who's like, "I'm your ride or die no matter what," he didn't know what the no matter what was when he said that. This is whole new information that changes the trajectory, that has changed the trajectory of everyone's life. And as you stated, Raquel didn't care about Marvin's life. She didn't care that what happened if he actually did find Unique and Unique got the upper hand and he was the one who killed him. She didn't you don't care about me. Remember the whole thing with Jukebox. Jukebox said to Raquel, "You don't see me, but I see you." So I think, and then he's gonna go to, because Jukebox is the one who's like, "Don't kill Kanan, no," and dragged him outside that house. I think that between the both of them, they are going, like I stated, they have to break away. And in order for Raquel to be at, "I don't have anybody, I'm at my lowest," no one should be by her side. Again, that wasn't, "I'm just protecting my son." You could still protect your son and tell everybody what happened. We can come together as a family and a team. Hey, guess what Kanan did, guys? Because technically, like I stated, it was an accident. He didn't go out and was like, "I can't stand you, Lou." Boom, 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 boom. It was all because stupid Ruben and his stinking cocking of a gun and the click that it made. And then Lou was like, "No," trying to save Kanan because Kanan was going to shoot Raquel. See, this all goes back to Raquel. This is all her fault. Lou was trying to save Raquel, stupid Ruben. So you can sit down and explain and map everything up that actually happened. Because now we don't believe you. Okay, here's Ruben's dead body. You know what I mean? This all could have been nipped in the butt a while ago. Therefore, you didn't have Jukebox going crazy. And the car scene was horrible. It was so sad watching everybody break down and Jukebox is holding on to Marvin like that. And then to go on and keep thinking that, somebody killed this Unique guy, wouldn't betrayed us like that. When in all actuality, it was an accident. And then I can't stop thinking about how they just left him there like trash, like he was garbage. He's still holding that emotion where he can be. Raquel treats everyone like they're disposable. Even though she wasn't the one who killed Lulu, she just left him there. And you could say, "Oh, well, she's traumatized." Everybody is grown adults aside from Kanan. Is anybody going to take the responsibility? Raquel takes some responsibility. So I do feel that he has to break away from her. That whole speech, like I said, before everybody got the information. We all like that way before. Oh, he's my best friend. Oh yeah, he popped your mom upside the head. What? Well, that's gonna change how you view that person now, even though you said 10 seconds ago that you were ride or die. So in order, again, writing, evolution, and storylines, the rest we're gonna get the same story for the last 4 seasons. We're gonna get again, and nothing happens. No one pays any consequences. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, he has to break away, or maybe Jukebox kills him.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But Richard, what do you think? How do you expect Marvin to react to Raquel after lying to him about Lou's death?
Well, I agree 100% with what Dana said. They have to evolve. Things have to change. And I think this is an excellent opportunity because what we have seen with the relationship between Raquel and Marvin this entire show, Raquel is always very critical of Marvin. Anytime there's some mistake, she gets on him very harshly, talks about him, but the whole time Marvin remains loyal to her. So I think with the next episode, yes, they're going to definitely have some more intense conversations. I do believe that he's going to tell her how wrong that she was and what she did. And he may, and again, he is going to want to walk away. Now, he did tell her that as her big brother, he will always have her back. That will be questioned now, because we do know at some point Raquel is going to lose all of her alliances. So I feel like that also applies to Marvin too. But it is going to be very interesting to see how they tell that story, because again, it's dealing with a lot of the family drama dynamics in addition to all the business stuff that's happening. So I'm not 100% sure how things are going to go down in the next episode, but I do know there's going to be a lot of back and forth with those two, him talking about all the times that she was wrong. And of course, we need to also see what Raquel's reaction will be when she finds out that Marvin beat down her son. If she ever sees Kanan's face, it's like, oh, wow. I am curious to see what that reaction would be. But either way, they know Kanan and them, they're in direct conflict with each other. At some point, they're going to have to face off. So I do want to see where things go. But yeah, I just think there's going to be a lot that happens in that next episode, which is the main reason why they're taking a break next week, and we have to wait 2 weeks to see what happens next. Go ahead, Dana.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to quickly say something. I think that when a character dies, they always say something profoundly, especially when it comes to the show. We had Primo. He was like, don't worry, the same thing's gonna happen to you. And Bree was like, I'm gonna deserve it. See, this is also why I believe that Breeze is the one that's manipulating everything. Because remember his words, I am going to deserve it. I think Raquel has to die. Anyway, Primo last words to Raquel was, the problem was with you have no boundaries. And I think that was something that was powerful. Raquel doesn't have any boundaries, and now people are going to have to create boundaries for you to separate themselves from her. So that's why I feel there has to be a change in Marvin and in this family. It has to evolve. There needs to be boundaries. That's why I stated, if Raquel lives, how you do, Mom? Here's some food so you don't die. Here's your medication. But that's it. Boundaries. And also, she can't die. Oh, I don't know. She can. It's still weird with the wording. But I went to go see Moms today. Ghost and Tommy was like, oh, yeah. So they know everything that happened with Raquel. Allegedly. We'll see. But I think that Primo's words were very profound when it came to this episode. And I think that the problem with you is you have no boundaries, is, one of those statements that really does stick. And I think Raquel doesn't like being read, but she knew that it was true. And he read her real good. That's why she was just like, so I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting about people having boundaries with Raquel, because I do think I believe one of the reasons Jukebox wants to start her own thing is to separate herself from Raquel, because she clearly does not trust her. And I think Jukebox is going to be like the voice of reason in Marvin's ear, basically telling him, look, she lied to you about Lou. How can you trust her? How can you keep working for her and stuff like that? Because I do believe that Marvin probably still is going to help her in some way, because there was in the trailer there was also the scene where he says, how many wars are you gonna get into or whatever. So they were in a car together, so I think he's still kind of helping her in some way, even after knowing that she lied. But I think Jukebox is going to basically be the one to kind of, tell him to separate himself from Raquel, like that he needs to step away from her.
Or they could just all set her up. That's
Yeah,
about
that's
right.
interesting. With the whole cop element, it really does kind of seem like somebody could tell on somebody in the family, because they are dealing with a cop, right? So it does seem like that's a possibility, like somebody snitching on a member of the family. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. Um, So how do you think Jukebox, like, and this is the last question I have, but how do you think Jukebox, because I mentioned it in my takeaways, um, how is she going to react to Kanan now? Because they've always had a close bond. They meet at the diner, they kind of always touch base. And she was, of course, trying to tell him about Famous, the fact that, she has new information about Famous's death. Kanan wasn't concerned because, there was stuff going on with the courier. So yeah, like the scooter boy and everything. How is that going to change now? Because now that she knows he killed Lou, she's got to deal with that, because that was her uncle, like you said, Dana. It was her uncle too. So how is their relationship going to change? How is she going to take that out on Kanan now, knowing that he was the one who killed Lou?
Well, like, here's the thing. We know that they're still technically close. We know that he sends her away. There was that 8-year period, but I think that they're still going to remain close. But Jukebox is going to now start doing the investigation stuff for herself, as opposed to Kanan. And like, I can tell you later on what happened. You know what I mean? Like, she now wants to fully know the answers, because Kanan is fully disassociated right now. And when she finds out when she did find out that Kanan killed Lou, everything was such a sudden shock and a surprise, and you had so many things happening at once. Remember, she was there talking about, hey, Famous, and she's talking about Garcia. We get a sudden abrupt knock at the door. I'm like, is this the FBI? What's happening? He knocks on the door. Kanan had the gun in his hand, right? He puts it in his back pocket because he sees that it was Marvin. And not even a hi, hello, let me come in. He immediately punches Kanan in the face. Jukebox is like, oh my God, what? Rightfully so, because like, what is going on? He screams at her, Kanan killed your uncle. He killed Lou. She was too shocked, I think, to respond, but her immediate reaction was to pull him off of her, was to pull him off of Kanan. That's when Marvin pulled out the gun and was going to shoot Kanan in the face. But Jukebox stopped him and saved his life. I am starting to wonder, does that mean like, hey, I saved your life, we're done? We know we're not done, because she does end up, when we see her again, she's hard as a rock, and you gotta kill Tariq. And remember, she knows who Ghost and Tommy is. So I still think that they become close. It's a very complicated situation where she is able to balance on both sides. I am starting to wonder, will that make Marvin fracture more of his relationship with Jukebox because Jukebox is hanging out with the guy who killed his brother? You have to remember, brother relationships is much different than uncle niece. He grew up with Lulu. That is his brother. Jukebox only knew him for a short time of however long she was alive, and then he died. So that's what I'm starting to wonder if Marvin is going to be upset at Jukebox for still talking to Kanan. And I don't know what that answer is, but it should be very interesting. But I do feel that no matter what, there is love in a relationship that's there, where Jukebox definitely still is going to do something to protect her father. And I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Yeah, it's very complex because I think Jukebox looks at Raquel as the enemy, as the one that caused all of this. So I think she's gonna blame Raquel more than Kanan, I think. And Kanan, obviously, he doesn't mess with his mother at all right now. So I think they might find common ground in that if Kanan, ends up going at his mom. Maybe they find some common ground there, and and like we always say, Jukebox is very intelligent. She's emotionally aware of everything, and so I think she like she can understand that Kanan was wrong, but then also at the same time understand that he is still her cousin and he is still here and he's still family and she has to kind of support him. So yeah, I think it's just a case of she might be angry with him for a little bit, but she knows that he was kind of corrupted by Raquel and she is the problem. So I think that might end up being her stance on the situation. But what do you think, Rich?
I think those are very good points that you and Dana made. I don't really know what's going to happen with that situation because, you made the comment. Well, you both made the comment about the fight between Marvin and Kanan. But Marvin was not only did he beat the hell out of Kanan, but he was very, very much boasting about the fact that, yes, your corner boy is in the ground and you're next. That's why I say, because he was using that type of language, I don't think, Kanan will get retaliation, but this could very much be a deadly retaliation as well, because you pretty much threaten to say you're going to take him out as well. He didn't pull the trigger because Jukebox stopped him, but that's why I said it is a very complicated situation. And like you said before, Gary, when you saw this episode, you say, yeah, they would take a break next week because they know everybody is going to be asking questions about what happens next. So very smart on their part to do that. But I have no idea what's going to happen. But in terms of Jukebox, yeah, she was there because she was dealing with the situation. You saw her raw reaction, the shock, and then, of course, stopping Marvin from going through with it. But it does make you wonder what's going to happen from here. Obviously, it's going to have a psychological effect on her as well, because I believe that Dana made the comment and said she could end up becoming a psychopath. I could see that happening because she's trying to do her thing to keep everything at peace with the family, even though she does not like Raquel. But after this situation, it's going to definitely have a ripple effect on everybody involved. And that's the thing that they did say in the very beginning of the season when they said that Lou's death was going to impact all the characters on the show. So I do want to see where they go, but it's hard for me to determine what's going to happen with Jukebox based off of this episode, because obviously she's still trying to do her own thing with her own business stuff. But the family drama stuff that's going to take a major toll on her. especially if Marvin gets taken out because of this. And again, they're in a direct war with each other now, Marvin and Kanan's side. So this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And I do want to see which path they take it in.
Go ahead, Dana.
No, go with.
Yeah, there's another thing to consider as well. Because remember, Jukebox was actually the one that sent Lou to the house. So
Yep.
is she gonna feel guilty about that? Like maybe she'll be like, well, I was the one that told him to go over there, and she caused this accident to occur. So maybe part of her will feel guilty about it, and maybe that's what allows her to still kind of speak to Kanan, So
that's a very good point.
Yeah, but what was you going to say, Dana?
Okay, I think we kind of got the answer in this episode. Remember when Jukebox was talking to Marvin about the whole situation with Garcia? And he said, find the line because I have it. He said, okay, so after she said, I'm tired of everybody getting paid but me, Marvin is scared that Jukebox doesn't really know how it works. She doesn't know how this game works, and therefore she is doing things that she doesn't have the full understanding. Like she should have had the money in full before bribing Garcia. And she was like, yeah, and he's looking at her like, I'm more scared of how you're going to act and your reactions to things. And this goes back to what I think she started to take on psychopathic tendencies, where I stated they're more impulsive, erratic, and shaped by environmental factors like trauma. I am starting to think that she thinks that she can put matters into her own hands, and it's going to screw up this family even worse. And this ends up being maybe a bonding moment for Kanan and Jukebox, because they're still close. And we do know that they're close in the future. So that's what I'm more worried about. I'm worried that Jukebox is going to start doing something stupid. And that is how we end up with the family being even more destroyed. That yes, Raquel, and this is all technically is Raquel's fault, but Jukebox is trying to fix something. And there we go. You fixing something without the full education of how to properly fix it. And this is where we get the erratic tendencies. So I'm more concerned about her and how that's going to impact others. And I'm starting to maybe still wonder if Marvin is not going to make it up this season.
Yeah, I do think Jukebox is gonna go down her own dark path as well, because there was that moment, in the calf or whatever, where after Garcia left, Marvin was like, I hope this is gonna be worth your money. And she was like, that cop better hope it's worth my money. Like, and she, she looked like a real psychopath when she said that. So she does have like some dark tendencies to her. And I think no matter what happens, Kanan and Jukebox are going to be the last two members of the family standing, whether Raquel and Marvin live or die, something's going to happen to them, whether they end up in prison or they end up moving away or they end up dead, whatever. It's going to be Kanan and Jukebox that are the last two members standing in terms of, the crime and the streets. So they're going to be the last two members standing. So I think they have to have, even though their relationship is going to be complicated, they kind of have to have that mutual understanding between them, I guess. So yeah, it's what it is. But let's get to some final thoughts now before we close out. So Richard, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I thought this was a fantastic episode of Razor Kanan. so many things happening in the show right now. I know they are going on a break next week, but I look forward to seeing where things go from here. And again, definitely looking forward to seeing how these storylines get wrapped up. There's only 3 episodes left, so there's a lot more ground to cover. But I look forward to seeing every minute of it.
Yeah, I have to say, like, these last 2 episodes have been some of the best TV in a long time. Like, I have to say, so they're definitely cooking with this season. So, shouts to Sasha Penn and the whole team, as stars. But Dana, any final thoughts?
Just say okay. I just wanted to say this, and I didn't realize this until Flossie brought up what happened to the guy in the 3 train. I would like, obviously we can't do it now because it's too late, but can we please have some subway scenes? Because you would never know that this is New York City and everybody has cars. I just want to see a train, platform, please. And it was the fact that it was a 3 train, maybe because it's the 2000s that we're getting into Power Origin. Can we have a number 9 train? New Yorkers understand what I'm saying, but can we just get one scene where somebody takes the train and it's the number 9? Just because we are in New York City, I understand that they're in Queens. Queens, for people who don't know, the blocks are 2 to 3 times longer than they would be in Manhattan. So it's understandably that you would want to have a car, but the mass transit system did exist in the 90s. Obviously, because that man got pushed in front of the 3 train. I just want a subway. That's all. Just make it real New Yorker. I just want a subway scene. Somebody takes the subway. That's all. But yeah, other than that, my final thoughts is this is a very good episode. It's putting the seeds of what is going to happen, what we think, what we hope, what we don't even know could happen in the finale. And again, I look forward to how all of this plays out and whether or not Raquel lives or dies. And Sasha Penn said this is not going to be stretched out in terms of, oh, we'll know an origin. We're going to know within these 3 episodes. So I'm very excited about that. I'm slightly upset. Why do we need to have a week break? Just give me my show now. That's all I want. But overall, thumbs up. Really great job.
Yeah, absolutely. These next 3 episodes, it's going to be incredible. Just seeing it all wrapped up. So yeah, I can't wait for that. But yeah, go ahead, Rich.
There's one comment that I do want to make because we've been saying multiple times that this show is going on a week break next week. So obviously there won't be a show next week, but I do want to make this comment because it's pretty important. July 16th will mark the 10th year that we've been doing this show. And obviously, this all started with me and Gary because, the Koalition normally talks about video games and hip hop back in the day. Then we decided we started watching Power. We started watching Power from the very beginning. But Power Season 3 is the first time we decided, let's just talk about this show because we wanted to share our thoughts. That's when the show was really good. And ever since then, we have covered every single Power show, including the spinoffs. So I definitely want to take a moment to thank everybody that has been supporting the show. And I also want to give a special thanks to Dana because the show got way better when Dana joined the show. She's been doing a phenomenal job with all the interviews, all the opportunities that we've gotten from stars. So I did want to take a moment to acknowledge that. And I also want to take a moment to say, if you have an idea of doing anything, whether it's covering a show, I would encourage you to do that because you never know what could happen. Like I said, we've had some great opportunities working with stars, covering these shows. And 10 years is a long time. So I thought it was important to mention that. So if you are still watching, I definitely thank you for staying toward the end of this podcast. And yes, we look forward to continuing talking about Power and hopefully covering some other things as well in the future.
Can I just piggyback off of that for 1 second and say thank you for including me? Because I wasn't
yeah.
part of that first jump off period. I wanted to say that, and also don't judge a book by its cover. And this is more of me. When Power initially started, and you guys invited me to be a part of Power, I hated this show because I thought it was going to be a stereotype. Oh, here's another show of Black people. They're doing the drug life. Oh, look, Pookie got shot. Tay Tay's over there crying. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to be that stereotype, and it wasn't at all. It ended up being a very hard-hitting drama about family first and the complications that families become. And, you know, a lot of times we judge something by its cover and be like, oh, no, you're not Black show. It's about the Blacks and them always doing this and that. And that is actually not the case at all. So both of you, thank you for changing my perspective on this show, and this ended up being this entire universe of what it is. So yeah, and again, thank you to Stars for allowing us to talk about this show. I mean, you know, of giving us access to talk. And doesn't say you allowed us, anybody can talk about a show, but giving us access to dive deeper into the characters. And so that if somebody else comes along, oh, it's those Black shooting up things, you know, that's not this. My interviews are never about, you know, the surface level. It's about what's going on mentally about a character, because they're not stereotypes. They may be raised in a certain environment, but they bring their own personalities and in their own ways of looking at life that is far more than something that's surface level. So thank you for that, and thank you to Stars. And also me saying that, oh, why are you saying that now? People already know that. There was, and you guys know this, it was a couple years ago, I forgot for which series. I think it was either Force. And this is well documented. So it's like Dana's making this up. I was part of the Television Critics Association. There was a white woman who was there asking 50 Cent, oh my God, why do you have a show like this? The kids, the Black kids are going to look, and it promotes gang violence and all these drugs. And 50 Cent, now I would have cursed out the white lady, but he would put on that professional hat. And he explained to her, how is this show any different than you watching Godfather or you watching The Sopranos? The Sopranos is about family drama. So is The Godfather. It is about who's going to succeed in the family business. And people always wanting revenge and being on top. And you get into the intricacies of that life, but you don't view this series the same as that. Why? Because of the skin color. They're all doing the same drug trade. They're all doing illegal activities. They're all getting shot up. There's no horses in the bed with this one, but it's kind of the same thing. And that white woman, I didn't think of that. She didn't think of that. So that's why I bring this up, because even today, there's a population that sits and say, well, this promotes those Blacks. Black people are more than what you think they are. And here is diving into that more deeply. So thank you for you know, adding me and entertaining my long rants.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was thank you, Rich, for that, because it was definitely important to acknowledge that. You know, I can't believe it's been 10 years already. And yeah, it's been magic, man. Us covering Power and everything, and then when Dana joined the show, you know, everything got better because we got the connection to Stars and everything, and it allowed us to improve our coverage of you know, the series and stuff. So yeah, and another thing is too is we've seen the whole community grow as well and expand, because we were actually the first ones, like, on YouTube recapping the show at first, you know, when we started doing it. And then we got to see the whole Power community grow. More content creators came, and then, you know, people started talking about it on Twitter and all these other platforms a lot more. Because, you know, back then, like, there wasn't a whole lot of like discourse about TV shows like that. Like it was very new. So yeah, just seeing all of that change over the years has been a really good thing to see as well. And yeah, I want to shout out all the listeners who have you know, followed us throughout, because one thing is a lot of people watch us on YouTube, but we also publish this as a podcast, as an audio podcast. And you know, from the analytics, we see that people are listening in Nigeria, Ghana, all these different countries. There's people who only exclusively listen to this on as an audio podcast. Like, you know, they don't even watch us on YouTube. So I want to shout out all those people too, because there's people who, you know, if we miss a week or two, you know, when I'm sick or something, like people are hitting me up like, yo, where's the show and stuff. So just to see that engagement and that support from everybody, you know, it's amazing. So yeah, I can't believe it's been 10 years, but I've enjoyed, you know, covering all of these shows. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the future as well and what the future brings. But you know, on that note, you know, we don't just cover Power, we also cover a lot of other shows too. So definitely check out the Coalition Entertainment, you know, because Spider-Man's coming out soon, so we're gonna have a lot of talk about that. There's some good movies and other shows coming out. So definitely check out the Coalition Entertainment show. And like Richard said, we started as like a gaming and hip hop site, and gaming was like really the main focus. So you know, we do still talk about gaming too. So head over to the Coalition Gaming channel, because there's going to be a lot to talk about in the coming months when a lot of games come out and stuff. And Richard actually just got back from, you know, covering games as well. So there's going to be a lot more content coming out on the gaming front. So definitely check that out. But yeah, it's a pleasure coming here to every week, you know, to talk about Power with you guys. Like in a way, it's like my own therapy, because, you know, being sick and stuff, you know, I kind of need stuff like this, like to take my mind off of it. So I want to thank both of you for being here too, you know, with me to cover the show. So yeah, it's been a great 10 years, man. So props to
Agreed.
both of us. Props to all of us, I mean. So yeah.
Agreed.
And yes, so as Richard said, there is a break next week, and we'll be back the following week to cover episode, what is it, 6? Episode 6, yeah, of Raising Kanan season 5. So until then, everybody take care of yourselves, and make sure you leave your comments. Let us know what you think of episode 5, because some big things happened in this episode. So let us know your thoughts and theories. And yeah, hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.